we're in a little bit different area today. So we are currently pausing our Black Ops 6 beta, or our Black Ops 6 benchmark. We're pausing those for the NGP side. We're currently pausing those to talk about the new releases tomorrow. The 9800X3D is supposed to come out tomorrow. So I'm going to hurry up and get this video together to kind of benchmark it. Use 6 CPUs, 6 different games at 1080p. High settings. The CPUs we used was 9800X3D, the 7800X3D, the former King on AM5. We used the 5800X3D, the former King on AM4, 14900K, which is Intel's kind of flagship, and then we also used 2850K, the newest Intel flagship. This review is kind of rushed a little bit, so we didn't do a lot of thermal testing or anything like that. The new 9800X3D does allow for, one, it allows for overclocking. Two, it does run a lot cooler than the previous 7800X3D, so it is easier to cool because they made thermal conductivity of the part a lot better. So they did a lot. So that does allow for better cooling, and also more overclocking headroom because the part stays cooler longer. So you can boost clock longer, and boost frequency is already higher than previous by 200 megahertz, and the base clock is 500 megahertz higher than it used to be. So than the 7800X3D. So we can go ahead and jump into the benchmarks. Again, this is kind of a rushed video a little bit, trying to get this out fast before the launch tomorrow. And I only had like 24 hours with the CPU because I borrowed it from somebody else. So let's go ahead and jump into the benchmarks. So first up we will do is Starfield, the 9800X3D. The 9800X3D has a 22% uplift over the 7800X3D at 1080p high settings. 9800X3D over the 7800X3D in Starfield has an uplift of 22% over the 1400K and the 285K. You see an uplift of 13%. We're gonna keep all the CPUs in the same order, left to right or top to bottom. Just the numbers will be different. So you can look at what CPU you're looking at. If you have a current CPU and you're trying to upgrade, look at Last of Us Part 1. We threw this in there because Last of Us Part 2, the TV show, is supposed to come out, I think, next year sometime, or so. I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but I know it's kind of being talked about, so I threw Last of Us Part 1 in there. 9800X3D does about 208. The 7800X3D does about 200 FPS. So that's a little under 5% uplift over the previous king of the CPUs. The 1400K, the 285K, actually 285K outperforms the 1400K, but still not enough to outperform the 7800X3D or the 9800X3D. So you see 9800X3D versus the 285K, you see about a 7% uplift in Last of Us Part 1. It was really the first CPU to 100%, like to fully break the 200 FPS barrier in Last of Us Part 1. It's 1080p, high settings. It's kind of the first one to actually do it. The 7800X3D kind of barely hits it, but it does break it, I would say. Next up we will look at is Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy, the 9800X3D outperforms everything by a long shot. As you can see, Hogwarts Legacy, the 9800X3D sees an average FPS of about 170. 7800X3 was in the 140 range, right about 141. 20% uplift for the 9800X3 over the 7800X3. And then the 285K, about a 43% uplift in Hogwarts Legacy, and 37% uplift in the 1400K. To Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, 2077 Phantom Liberty. The 9800X3D, you see 219 average FPS, about 220 average FPS at high settings. 7800X3D does break the 200 barrier there, but it does have an uplift of about 9%, 8.5 to 9%. 1400K is about 33% behind the 9800X3D. The 2850K is about 45%, so the 285K does struggle in this title, but here's what it is. The 7700X is a CPU that I have quite a bit of experience with because I use it in a lot of my personal builds. It does see a 32% uplift to that CPU the 9800 X3D does. See that pretty big uplift. Next up, we will go to some high FPS games, like some crazy numbers that kind of blow everything out of the water. Look at F124 at 1080p high settings. We see average FPS of about 465 for the 9800 X3D, 7800 X3D about a little under 440. So again, an uplift of 6% there. I mean, a difference of 26 FPS. Which, I mean, are you gonna notice that at 430 to 460? Are you gonna notice a difference? Maybe from 40 to 460. Maybe not that big of a difference, but you might. You never know. Some people would notice it. Most people probably wouldn't notice that little bit of a difference, but who knows? The 14900K, 385 is the best performing Intel part in the F124 at 1080p. And you see a 20% uplift from the 9800 X3D to the 14900K. And the latest flagship from, you see it, 21% uplift, 14900K to the 9800 X3D. And the 285K, you see about 35% uplift, 9800 X3D over the 285K. The 285K is one of the ones that does seem to struggle in this title a little bit. It is actually not the worst performing one of the day, but close to the worst performing one. So yeah. The last option we have, or no, the last title we have is FPS game. I was going to choose between Counter-Strike 2 or Valorant, and I don't play Valorant, so I don't really play CS:GO either. But hey, this is what we have. All right, so 9800 X3D does just crazy numbers. I mean, these numbers really are insane, but it does have a huge uplift here from what we were able to see. We see 669 FPS. Versus the 7800 X3D almost hitting 600, so 60 FPS roughly uplift there. Percentage wise, or about a 13% uplift again, but the numbers are different, are really huge. A 76 FPS difference but a 13% uplift. About 7700, see about a 27% uplift over the 7700X. The 14900K, you see about a 13% up, or no, 7700, the 4900K, you see about a 30% uplift, 30% uplift. So basically, you see about a 30% uplift over everything except the 7800 X3D, essentially, because if you look at all the numbers, they're about the same. They all perform right around the 500 FPS range except for the 7800 X3D and the 9800 X3D. But the 9800 X3D does essentially do way better than the 7800 X3D. 9800 X3D is supposed to launch at a price of $479, about $480 US. Will it stay that price very long? Probably not. Will scalpers pick it up? More than likely. Will it kind of skyrocket in price? Yes. So let's talk about what do you do. If the 9800 X3D, if you want the same value, the 7800 X3D, $80 difference in price. So if the 7800 X3D is $80 less than 9800 X3D, they're about equal in value if you take the average of performance. If you are so anything more than $80 a difference in the pricing, I would say definitely go 7800 X3D if it's cheaper. If it's more, then obviously go 9800 X3D. But so anything over $80 price difference between the two, probably just lean towards 7800 X3D. For a better value, if you're looking for better value, not just looking for the best of the best and you can afford the best of the best. For gaming, 9800 X3D is better. It's the best. It's just gonna be the best for the foreseeable future, probably till whatever the next Intel part maybe be, or Zen 6, whatever comes out next, which will be a couple years probably, unless Intel decides to come back and say, hey, you know what? We need to revamp our current one and come out with a 2900 or 290K or whatever they come out with next, or 300K, whatever they decide to do. We'll see. I don't think that's their focus right now. Their focus is probably more productivity and trying to get their name kind of back to equal. But we'll see what they do. So 7700X, you can get it for about $270 right now on Newegg. 5800 X3D kind of you can't really get anymore. We put it on there because it is the previous king of AM4, the previous Ryzen platform. The 7800X3D was the king of AM5 until now, so it is the king of Zen 4, but it's not the king of Zen 5. And then do the 4900K on there because it is kind of, one, it's close in price, it's about $40 cheaper, which you can get it for right now. But again, it's Intel's best option, really. I mean, 285K, if you can even get one, they're insane. They're like $500 and $600, so they're not even worth buying. Too expensive. Let's talk use cases. If you're looking for, so the 9800X3D does perform a little better in productivity than the 7800X3D. So if you were looking at the 7800X3D and you can afford the extra $80 or whatever difference it is, the 9800X3D would perform better for things like productivity. So like maybe some photo editing, video editing, whatever you're gonna decide to do. It will do a little bit better. It's still not the best. It's still not, you know, 7700X levels a lot of times in productivity, but it does get closer to that, so it does help, you know, be a little bit faster in productivity across, you know, different so for photo editing or, you know, rendering of different things, whatever you're trying to accomplish. So if you're so I'd say if you're a gaming content creator, maybe look at the 9800X3D. But if you're not looking at high-end graphics cards, so another use case you would need. So if you're looking at a 4070, I would say 4070 Ti, maybe 4070 Super and above levels of graphics, so that would be like what, 7900 GRE, 7900 XT levels of performance as far as graphics cards. Maybe think about, you know, 9800X3D, 7800X3D, depending on what resolution you play at. If you play at 1440p, 7700X, 7600, 7600X, 7700 are probably going to be perfectly fine if you're going to go AM5. Those will offer you plenty of performance and a way cheaper price if you're trying not to blow all your budget on CPU. But again, if you're looking for the best of the best, 9800X3D is essentially the best of the best. There's a new sheriff in town, basically, is how it works. You know, I mean, there's just nothing you can do to kind of, you know, deny it at this point. It is what it is. You know, leave a like, comment. You know, comment what your plans are in the future. Are you gonna buy this 9800X3D? Are you thinking it's gonna get scalped? Are you thinking, hey, maybe I'll wait for the prices to drop. Maybe they'll drop in 6 months. You know, AMD does drop prices after a few months generally, so maybe they'll, you know, if they have enough stock, they'll start to drop the price for Black Friday, you know, holiday deals. You know, we'll see.